What's good, Fraanse Fam, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about my recent health scare that I had in 2023. And I really wanted to make this video because I made a TikTok recently. I want to say maybe at the beginning of this year. January made the 1-year anniversary since I was hospitalized. And so that video has been getting a lot of traction lately, and I know a lot of people have been commenting on it, wanting to know an update, what some of my symptoms were, and also just things to look out for and how I'm doing today. So I really wanted to update you guys on that, and also provide those who are suffering with the same issue a little bit of comfort. And so we're going to talk about all of those things in the video, so stay tuned.
Some of the girls feel like automatically I have an advantage over them because I'm awesome and, you know, I totally have it going on.
So in 2023, I was working at a different job. It was very stressful. It was a lot going on. I was probably doing 10 different jobs in one position by myself, and I feel like that took a major toll on my body. I was also not eating right. I was also doing a lot of different things, and I was probably around the heaviest I had been throughout my life. It was just a lot of moving parts. So January 2023, I had just got back in town, I think at the end of December, of my friend's wedding. I felt great. I felt normal. I had kind of just started getting into this job that was very stressful. I got into it at a very stressful time. And so, like I said, I was also not eating right. And so my body had just been going through so many changes. And I felt like I had so many just health scares at this one time that were just kind of back to back to back. So one Friday evening, I got home from work. It was a regular 40-hour work week. I got home and I had some chest pains. Now, normally, I attributed it to stress because sometimes I feel like when I'm stressed or I'm overwhelmed or there's some sort of anxiety there, I feel like a chest pain. But this one was a bit different, and I'll tell you why. So I had this chest pain, and then I also had a shooting pain in my left arm. And so I thought personally that I was going to have a heart attack. So I got on Dr. Google and I started just researching a bunch of different things. And I was just like, oh my God, this is kind of serious. So I was dating a guy at the time, and I told him about the symptoms that I was having. And I said, I think I'm just a bit stressed. So I put on some of my favorite ASMRs, and I just was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to sleep early. I put my dog to bed, and that was it for the night. He insisted on staying on the phone with me throughout the night, so that, you know, if anything happened or I made any weird noises, he can, you know, alert the authorities and things like that. It was very, very cool because he didn't live very close to me, so he was very helpful in that regard, and I really appreciated that at that time. And so he stayed on the phone the entire time I was asleep. When I woke up, he was still there. I woke up and I felt better than I did the night before. And so I kind of got up and started my day normally, got up, walked my dog, and then things just started to retract back to how I felt the night before. I started having those chest pains. I started having the shooting pain in my left arm. And in the middle of traffic, I was like, I have to go to the hospital. Now, I've never been hospitalized in my entire life. Outside of being birthed, you know, from my mother, I've never had to be hospitalized for anything. So this was pretty serious. So I drove myself to the emergency room. I got there, and basically anybody knows that when you go to the emergency room, it is probably going to be based on how serious your condition is or what you're coming in with. Someone who has a gunshot wound probably seen before someone who has a headache sort of situation. So based on the symptoms that I was having, I got seen pretty quickly. They didn't know if I was going to have a heart attack. They didn't know what was going to happen. So it was pretty scary. So they pull me to the back. I tell them about my symptoms. They do a bunch of different tests. And this is hours on hours on hours. And I want to say this was about Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And I just didn't find out anything until probably 7 o'clock that night. So they ran all kind of tests, did x-rays, blood work, they did everything. I had an IV in my arm and everything. And so I called my mom. I said, Mom, in the hospital. My stepdad came, and they sat with me for some time, and they had been sitting there for hours. So my mom got up and she said, okay, we're gonna go get something to eat, because they had been sitting there. So they leave to go get something to eat. Next thing I know, the doctor comes in and she's like, I have to tell you something. And I was just so terrified. And she said, hey, you know, we did some tests, because they did an x-ray of my chest, which is called a CAT scan. And so a CAT scan is deeper than an x-ray, because a CAT scan can really show you like inside of your lungs and all that kind of stuff. And so on the CAT scan, she showed me that I had 2 clots in my lungs, which is called a pulmonary embolism. Now, I was kind of confused because that didn't run in my family. I had been on birth control in college, but that was almost 10 years ago. And I never had an abortion. I never been pregnant. I never had any major surgeries, which are the questions that they asked you that would probably bring it about. But I never had anything like that. I'm fairly young, very fit. I grew up, you know, in a very fit household at that. My mom is very healthy, and, you know, she didn't allow us to go and eat fast food and different things like that. So something like that made no sense. Now, I've heard of conspiracies of maybe it was the vaccine. People, you know, outside of doctors probably, you know, feel like that plays a role, because what else could it be? And so when they don't know what it's called, they call it unprovoked. So back to the hospital. I'm in the hospital. They come in with the news. The doctor leaves out. I immediately start crying, because to me, it was kind of like a death sentence. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? What is going on? And so I called my mom immediately. I said, Mom, this is what my condition is. She doesn't even go get the food. She comes back to the hospital, and because she wants to talk to the doctor on her own. She talks to the doctor, and basically they're telling her the same thing. So they start asking questions, you know, we think it's best to keep you in the hospital for a couple of days. You can go home, but we have to show you how to take your medicine, which is a blood thinner. Now, when you're in the hospital, they're probably going to give you a needle for your blood thinner in your stomach. Now, this was not an exciting experience. My experience was when I got the blood thinner in my stomach, it was like a burning sensation. Not fun at all. I hated every second of it. But my mom insisted that I stay in the hospital. I wanted to get back home to my dog, y'all. I love my dog. And she's a rescue, and I just was thinking that, like, you know, she's never gone days without seeing me. So I was just kind of considering her feelings. But my mom was like, look, I'll go check on your dog. If it's that serious, you need to stay in the hospital. So it started getting really weird. They start putting me in a wheelchair. They start rolling me up to my room. And I'm like, this is getting too real. Now, I will say that the hospital was very, very, very hospitable. The food was great. I actually stayed at the hospital that I was born at, because I don't know, I just like something in me was like, just go where you're familiar. And so my parents are divorced. So my mom came, and then the second day my dad came in with my stepmother, and my dad had a lot of questions for the doctor, because I just have to say this. Unfortunately, I had a stepsister that passed away from this same condition maybe 2 years before I was diagnosed. So imagine how he's thinking. This person that's living in the house with them literally passed away 2 years ago, and you get a call from your daughter saying that you have the same condition. So my dad's thinking I'm not gonna make it. You know, he drove in, my brother flew in. It was crazy. I had so much, like, an outpouring of love. I didn't even post it on social until a year later. And so it was just ridiculous. And so they did the blood thinners. They had a heart monitor on me the entire time. They had someone in downtown at a different location reviewing my heart the whole time I was there. I was there the entire MLK weekend, from Saturday all the way till I think I was discharged on Monday. I will say, leaving the hospital, if I felt very weak, because your body starts to depend on the machines and the IV and all of that stuff. And like I said, the nurses really looked out for me. I started getting hungry a couple of days later, and I ended up ordering Bonefish Grill to the hospital. So shout out to DoorDash for that. And because you know they feed you so early. And then I also really appreciated just seeing, like, my family really came in during that time. I was so scared, and I really did not like taking the blood thinner by needle. So I did request upon discharge that they could prescribe me a pill. The medicine, the type of blood thinner that they had me on was called Eliquis. And so it's different dosages of blood thinners, so you just have to talk with your doctor. And then once I got discharged, I went back to work a day after, and I ended up having to go see a hematologist. The hematologist is the one that continues the medication, determines if you need to continue it, and kind of checks in on you. And so that will be the person that you'll be following up with over time. Now, the only thing about seeing a hematologist that's frustrating is you don't know where the blood clots still are, or if they're still there. They don't do a CAT scan because of radiation. So you'll go years without really knowing. They'll just kind of keep you on the blood thinners, and that was something I just really didn't like. And so also, being a woman, when you're on blood thinners and your cycle comes, it's going to be very heavy. So I just felt like I was constantly cycling through menstrual pads and things like that. So that was very frustrating. And so I just wanted you guys to know what my experience was like. Like I said, while in the hospital, I had to do my blood thinners by needle. And then they also offer you oxygen. Normally, someone with a pulmonary embolism has trouble breathing. Luckily, I was blessed to not have that issue. They did offer it to me and said to call them at any time I was hospitalized to let them know if I needed it at any time. But it was so crazy that I was breathing at 100%, which was wild. And all of the nurses just kept coming into the room, and they just kept asking me a bunch of questions because it made no sense. It's like, how did this even come about? Where did this come from? You're breathing at 100%, but you have 2 blood clots in your chest and all these different things. Now, I will say, when I'm exercising or, I'm walking for long periods of time, I do feel like I have to kind of take a break to breathe. Or even sitting here talking with you guys, a lot of times you'll hear me go as I'm talking, because it's like, you still have that. You have blood clots in your lungs. So it's like, you gotta breathe and make sure that you're okay and all of those different things. And so I really wanted to share that with you guys. Those who commented on my TikTok, I'm here with you. I'm with you. If I forgot anything, please comment below. I will be there to talk with you guys. No question is silly. Let me know what you think. And also, if you have any questions, if you're scared, do not be scared. Make sure that you're taking your blood thinners. Make sure that you're talking with your doctors, and make sure that you're asking questions in the hospital. Have people there with you to monitor you, to make sure that you're good. That's checking in with these nurses, that's checking in with these doctors, y'all. And I love you guys so much. If you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button up at the top. Also, too, don't forget to hit that notification bell at the bottom of this video, so every time I post a video, you'll be the first to know. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much. I am okay. I'm doing better. I changed my life around and started just, eating better, exercising a bit more, and things like that. Getting massages, things like that helps. Constantly moving around, getting that blood flowing. Compression socks for planes and long sits and things, long drives are helpful for you guys too. So always consult with your physician for the best information, and I'll see you guys in the next video.